This is sailing, but not as you know it. Shorter, faster, sharper. Welcome to the Sailing Energy Series.
I think you can have the simplicity of one race, take kind of the elite, the top 10.
A lot can happen in a short period of time.
One race, one winner, one decisive moment. The course is short, tight, action that never leaves the camera.
Such a short race and so dependent the start and the few decisions you can make in that short time.
Speed changes everything. One knot of advantage compounds. A small mistake becomes a huge gap. The fastest boat doesn't just lead, it disappears.
Anything can happen, anything good like anything bad. But that's what we do sports, is the excitement is there.
To win, you have to grab the cash, real money hanging from the committee boat. No grab, no win.
A win is a win, so it's always a nice feeling.
At full speed, with the fleet closing in, reaching for that prize is the most exposed moment of the race.
There'll be 10 boats on the start line. Everyone's feeling the pressure, everyone's feeling watched.
We always keep fighting.
Never giving up.
Everyone has what it takes to win.
This is more than a regatta. This is a championship. And at the end of the season, one country wins it all. The Sailing Energy Series. Olympic sailing like never before. Brittany, France's Atlantic coast. A narrow peninsula stretches into the sea like an arrow. Quiberon, relentless Atlantic wind, waves, gusts, shifting conditions. The stage of the upcoming 49er World Championship. But first, Sailing Energy Series 03. 3 classes take the bay: 49er, FX, and Nacra.
We've got 8 of the world's best 49er FX teams on the water here. From the Netherlands, we've got the reigning Olympic champion Odile van Aanholt sailing with new crew Karlijn van Arendonk. We've got the reigning world champions from Spain, Paula Barceló and María Cantero. From Canada, the gold medalists from the Trofeo Princess Sofia earlier this year, Giulia and Antonia, Lewin-LaFrance. And then the Olympic silver medalist Vilma Bobeck, who got the silver medal at the Worlds last year with Ebba Berntsson, her new crew at the time. Mathilde, Lovadina and Berthomieu from France. Laura Harding and Annie Wilmot from Australia, silver medalists from the Olympic regatta recently. The gold medalists from Sofia, Giunchiglia and Giulia Schio from Italy are also here, and then the 8th boat in the list is Germany's Sophie Steinlein and Katrin Bartelheimer, silver medalists in both Princess Sofia and Kielbockers. And there we have it, our lineup for the start of this race. Beautiful days racing in store here in Quiberon in France, and we've got 8 of the world's best 49er FX teams lining up for this start, coming up in just over a minute and a half from now. And this is unusual territory for the FXs because this is going to be a reaching start. Not the usual upwind start. It's going to be about judging your time on distance, and that's why the boat on the right hand side of the picture, which is the Dutch boat of Odile, van Aanholt and Karlijn van Arendonk, we're just doing a timed run. They are testing to see how long it's going to take them from coming a few boat lengths back from the line, accelerating and making sure that they are operating at full speed when they hit the line. So within the time frame we've been watching them, they're the only team that have done one of these time starts. And the other thing to consider is, do you start to leeward? Do you start on the far side towards the shore, or do you start on the windward end, which is where we saw the Dutch just testing out just them? Looking just in at the back of the pack, the Spanish, the reigning world champions, Paula Barceló and María Cantero from Spain, looking like they're lining up for the leeward end of the line. Whilst at this end, it is indeed the French and the Australians and the Canadians who are closest to the line. We've got 4 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1, go! And oh no, the Dutch, Ned 65, have completely missed the start altogether. They're going to have to tack round. That's an absolute disaster for the reigning Olympic champion Odile van Aanholt and her new crew Karlijn van Arendonk. All that timed run has come to nothing. Meanwhile, the Spanish in an early lead, they look very bang on the button of that start down at the leeward end, and that has given them the early advantage. But where are they going? Hang on a moment. Spain has bailed out. It looks like they're doing a penalty turn. So they're doing a penalty turn. Maybe that is for breaking the start line early. So it was a very good start, but maybe it was just a little bit too good. So that has put the Spanish right to the back. And meanwhile, the charge downwind begins. And on one side, we've got the Australians out to the right-hand side leading that way. And then the Canadians, the sisters, Giulia and Antonia, Lewin-LaFrance, doing well there. But Australia leading at the moment. Laura Harding and Annie Wilmot, the silver medalists from the Olympic regatta in the south of France just a couple of weeks ago, doing very well in these early stages. And there in the middle of our screen, we see the Dutch boat playing catch-up. That's Odile Lambriax van Aanholt and Carlinda van Arendonk after that disastrous missing the start and having to tack round and do the restart. So it's highly unlikely the Dutch are going to feature in this dash for cash. This is the battle to grab that 200 euros across the finish line. And today it's going to be Ben Ramoka, the class manager, who's going to be holding that money out for whoever is able to grab that money first. And at the moment, it looks like Australia is in the box seat for grabbing those 200 euros. Harding and Wilmot around the bottom of the course. There's a choice of gate marks to go around. Canada has gone round the opposite mark. Giulia and Antonia Lewin-LaFrance, the bronze medalists from last year's World Championship, and the Princess Sofia gold medalist from earlier this year, going nicely out on the left of our picture, with Australia leading those boats going out to the right, which is who we see front of picture right now, with France's Mathilde, Lovadina and Berthomieu in the next row back from Australia. Australia going into attack. Beautiful tack, what do we call a wire-to-wire tack. The two girls jumping out on the handles, minimizing the downtime in the maneuver, trying to take the sting out of any maneuver, because every time you turn the boat, you're slowing the boat down. But they are fully back up to speed again very, very quickly, and protecting from any charge from the other side of the course. The biggest threat to them most likely to be those sisters from Canada, the Lewin-LaFrances, who went out to the far side of the race course. That's the Australians we see coming up the upwind leg. And there's the overhead shot looking back at the Bay of Quiberon. Canada coming across from right to left in our picture. And who will they be able to cross? Have they managed to get on level terms with the Australians? They've got a close cross coming up now, but no, that boat now tacks. Couldn't quite see who that was. That is the Australians. So Canada do take the lead. So great sailing by the Lewin-LaFrance sisters, and Australia go for the tack because there is the mark. So that mark has come up extremely quickly, and the decision for the Canadians to go the opposite side to Australia seems to be working out right now. And now the battle across to the finish, and it's very, very close indeed. It looks like Canada has got the marginal advantage, and there's this lump and this chop for the two teams to work through, but Australia managing to get out from underneath the Canadians. And it's extremely close right now. This could be a photo finish, but there's only going to be one who grabs the cash. And who is that going to be? Canada, do they have right away? They're shouting, but Australia are going for it anyway. And the one grab for cash, wow, in the water. And what an absolute disaster for Annie Wilmot. But it's not really at all, because as long as she's still got that 200 euros in her hand, it doesn't matter where she is, whether she's on the boat, in the water, and she does indeed have the cash. She splashed for cash, and it's all been worth it. So celebrations for the Australians, commiserations to the Canadians, and the Canadians might feel a little bit hard done by there. I don't know there's going to be any stewards inquiry, but that was extremely close. But the Australians were not going to be beaten to that 200 euros.
How do you feel? How was it? And he's a bit cold, I think. Yeah, went for a swim, but got the money, so feeling stoked. What more is there to say? I'm puffed. Oh yeah, we'll share it. I think we're going to get some good crepes. We're in France. Best crepes are in the world, so.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there we have it, and congratulations to the Australians Harding and Wilmot, who grabbed the €200 cash just ahead of the Lewin-LaFrance sisters. It was oh so close between Australia and Canada, and France coming in third, Lovadina and Berthomieu. Bobeck and Berntsson from Sweden didn't really feature in the dash for cash this time round. The silver medalists from the World Championships last year. And then the recent winners back in third, Lovadina and Berthomieu from France, and then Bobeck and Berntsson from Sweden in fourth, and then Lambrechts and Van Arendonk, the Olympic champion Lambrechts in sixth, and the reigning world champions after breaking the start line early, Spain's Barceló and Cantero, finished eighth and last. And just as with the women in the 49er FX, in the men's 49er, we have 8 world-class teams. From Great Britain, James Grummett and Ross Horse. From Germany, Richard Schultheis and Fabian Rieger, recent gold medalists from Trofeo Princess Sofia. Zaiding Wen and Qian Lu from China, the surprise gold medalists from Semaine Olympique Française very recently. And then Harry Price and Max Paul also been doing very well this season, the Australian team. Nevin Snow and Ian McDermott from USA, gold medalists at the one of the highest performing teams of recent times, the USA's Nevin Snow and Ian McDermott. And then from Uruguay, Hernan Umpierre and Fernando Ditz. The former world champions from France, Erwan Fischer and Clément Pequin, bronze medalists at Princess Sofia this year. And then New Zealand's Matthias Coutts and Oscar Gunn make our 8 on the start line. So now the teams are lining up to decide which end of the line they are going to choose. It looks like Australia is making a beeline for the far side. And coming in from the top here, we've got Germany, Great Britain, and Uruguay. Uruguay is going to be most to windward, very, very close at the start. Really, really high quality start. Hang on, I'm just going to do that again. It was USA that I saw. So Australia on the far end, and we've got a gaggle of boats all battling for position here. Germany, Great Britain and New Zealand all jostling for position. And then the most to windward at start time is USA 31. That is Nevin Snow and Ian McDermott, who we're on board with, looking across at the Germans, and it looks like the Americans might be able to roll over Germany. Great start at the far end by France 1, Erwan Fischer and Clément Pequin, looking really fast out of the gate and in danger of putting the Australian team in their wind shadow. They're about to go round the first mark, and it's France going round in first, closely followed by Australia, and then a really tight battle in there. New Zealand getting their kite up, but China the first to jibe away. The recent winners from here in the south of France now competing in the north of France. And we are going downwind with the Chinese. They are looking over their shoulder, seeing how progress is being made down the far side of the course. So this is the gamble when the two sides of the course really open up, and it's a matter of who's got the stronger wind. Just a knot extra of wind can increase boat speed by at least a knot or two more, and that could be critical. France going into a jibe, Australia going into a simo jibe, but France still controlling this side of the race course. Looks like China might be doing pretty well on the far side, so let's see how they progress. And Australia pushing France hard. France with the red Jenica coming down towards the bottom of the course. Nice wave pattern here. Beautiful conditions in Quiberon in the south of France, and the French will be really keen to put their stamp on this. They won the World Championships in Lanzarote, but how sweet would it be for the French to win here on home waters? And this in the build-up to the World Championships, which are coming up on these same waters in just a few days' time. There are the two red marks. It's a matter of which one do they decide to go around. The French have the luxury of choosing whichever one they think is favoured. They see more wind on the far side of the course in the distance. Nice drop, a bit too much leeward heel out of the leeward mark for the French, but it doesn't really matter because they've got a very nice lead. Australia first around the opposite mark, Germany choosing to follow France out towards the left-hand side, and Uruguay going round just behind the Australians. So this really didn't work out that well for the Chinese. They have dropped back quite a few, so their jibe away at the windward mark really hasn't worked out very well for China at all. But there's not much in this right now. The gaps are still pretty small. And France leading out towards the left-hand side of the race course, looking over their shoulder, just checking in, seeing if they've made the right decision. Have we gone the right way? We've gone the left-hand side, but is it the correct way to go up this race course? Just dropping down a little bit further on the trapeze. This is the French, just checking where the ley line is. You don't want to overstand a ley line and do any more distance than is necessary. The French in these full stretch conditions, that they're tall, they're heavy, and they make this boat go fast. And in pure straight line terms, they are very hard to beat. And there aren't many options left on this short race course, so is anyone really going to be able to take the fight to France here? Still going out towards the far side, out towards the left-hand side from the bird's eye view, but now the French decide that it is time to tack, and now they will soon find out if they've made a good judgment on that ley line. They've stretched the distance on Germany, but have the French stretched the distance on the competitors on the far side of the race course? Because there is huge separation now from one side of the course to the other. French at full charge with this. You can see how lumpy it is at times. There's quite a big wave set coming through at times, and the key then is to ease the sails a little bit, just put a bit more power in the rig, just put a bit more horsepower into the boat, even if you give up some of your windward distance, just to keep the boat moving. There is the red mark, and it looks like the boats that tacked out to the far side have actually made a gain, but they still have one more maneuver to do. They've got a tack to do around this mark, but this has been a significant game for Australia. So they were some way back from the French, but they went to the far side of the race course, and that has worked out beautifully for Harry Price and Max Poole. And now it is the charge towards the finish, and they've got those 2024 world champions on their shoulder. They know they're fast. Harry Price and Max Poole are going to have to pull out all the stops to keep the French at bay. Not long to go now, and there is the €200 note on the stick being held out by class manager Ben Ramoka, just moments away, just pushing a little bit higher, and then they're going to go for a little bear away right at the end, just to make sure that there's no doubt about Max grabbing that cash. But he doesn't grab that cash, so now it's the French who grab the cash, but no, they don't. Oh my word. It's just as well these guys are sailors, and they're not in any kind of ball sport that requires hand-eye coordination. Let's see if the Germans have got the necessary. Yes, they do. And so, fourth across the finish line. But first in this race, it's Richard Schultheis and the steady hand of Fabian Rieger who grab the €200. And there will be some absolutely gutted competitors out there. But here are the happy ones.
Didn't have the best of starts, but we managed to kind of work our way up. We weren't in such a good position, but then kind of luck played onto our side, and the guys didn't manage to grab the prize, so in the end we got it.
I think we already made plans that we go on the golf course and spend it there here. Okay guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Okay, congrats. Nice.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So the boys are going to spend the hard-earned money on the golf course. Well, what a lucky hand, or what a steady hand Fabian Rieger had. So I'm sure he's going to be very strong on the golf course. There are our overall winners. Schultheis and Rieger from Germany grabbing that cash after the failure of Price and Poole from Australia to capitalise on their lead across the finish line ahead of Fischer and Pecan from France, who end up third, who've been leading that race for such a long time. But there we are. That is the dash for cash, and this time it went towards those steady-handed Germans. The Germans known to be one of the fiscally most responsible countries in the world, and there we saw it right there. Now we move to the Nacra 17 start. We're not too far off that start, and we've got 8 top quality teams. We've got Argentina's Olympic silver medalist Matteo Magdalani and Eugenia Bosco, the Olympic bronze medalist Michael Wilkinson sailing with new crew Kate Stewart for New Zealand, Tim Moniak and Alois Retornaz from France, Emilia Ruud and Hannah Jonsson from Sweden, winners of the Princess Sofia Trophy earlier this year, Wilhelmine Offerman and Scipio Houtman from the Netherlands, European champions, Sinem Kirkbey and Alican Kenar from Turkey, both Olympic representatives, Akseli Keskinen and Katarina Rojo from Finland, top 15 in the world, and Laura Ferrezi and Matthias Zogling from Austria, the under-23 world champions. So plenty of quality in this fleet and plenty of ways of approaching the start line, as we've seen with the 49er and the FX. But what I'm a little bit confused about is this boat here. It's the Turkish boat, and they are coming in. Are they late for the start? This all looks a bit unorthodox, to say the least. There is the Turkish boat with its Jenica, and now it's starting to become a little bit more apparent what they are doing. It looks like the Turkish team are looking to steal a march on the rest of the fleet if they get their timing right. This could be incredible. 4, 3, 2, 1. And now the question is for the Turks, were they behind the line or were they over the line? That looked a little bit too squeaky to my eye. So, and actually, maybe it's not the fastest. They're in second, but Argentina are looking faster with their Jenica down. So a really brave call by the Turks, but it looks like the more conservative start, but very, very well timed by the Argentinians, has launched them into the lead as up goes the blue Jenica on the Argentinian boat, but they've still to get foiling. So here's an opportunity for Turkey to maybe get over the top of the Argentinians. But hang on, what's happening here? So Turkey is dropping the kite. Either they've got a problem with the equipment, but more likely the way they're turning away from that, it looks like they were indeed too early on that start. So that looks like the Turks taking themselves out of the race, and that's unfortunate for them, but it was a brave call that didn't quite work. A jibe by our leaders from Argentina, and they've got to make sure that they're not rolled by the Austrians. That's who we're looking at now, and you can see just to the right of the picture, that is Argentina leading. So Austria looking to charge over the top of the Argentinians, take their air and see if they can overtake Argentina. And then on the far side you can see the Dutch team also doing pretty well, and further back of the French not doing so great in this race right now. The Argentinians just managing to stretch away a little bit from Austria, sailing a slightly lower line, sailing same speed but a little bit deeper, and we're on board with Argentina now. And with the sort of the fisheye lens, it looks like Austria is possibly ahead of Argentina, but I don't think that's the reality. It's just a distortion of the lens. Very smooth jibe by Argentina there, but it looks like they might be off the foils, so maybe a little bit less wind, but not long to go now until they go round through the leeward gate. Which one will they decide to go round? Looks like they're going for the left-hand side, which is slightly further distance, but probably doesn't really matter at the speed that the Nacras are travelling. So this was the side that the French 49er team chose to do, and actually that didn't work out so well for them on that occasion. So is this Austria's chance to get ahead of Argentina by choosing the opposite mark? But having said that, Austria looking slow. The wind doesn't look great for Austria going out to the right hand side of our picture. Just coming around now, pretty much together. It's Sweden on the inside, New Zealand on the outside. So two high performing teams there. Will they be able to reel in Argentina, who've got a pretty healthy lead, probably 5 or 6 boat lengths on the left hand side of the race course? And when you look on the far side, okay, it was a slow exit for Austria, but it does look like there's a band of breeze further out on the right-hand side. So we'll see which side pays. Austria still not looking particularly fast. Finland just behind them on the far side, but this is low riding. This is marginal H1, just getting one hull in the air. This is the Austrians. They're not exactly firing along either. So the breeze has really dropped out. That was Ferrezi and Zockling we were looking at there. And the Argentinians just managing to get that windward hull lifted from time to time. Eugenia Bosco lying down low and forwards in the boat, trying to keep those bows in and trying to reduce the wetted surface area of these hulls. So these boats capable of fully foiling around the racetrack, as we know, but that's not the conditions that they've got right now. Going into the tack for Argentina. Bosco stepping up to the new side, hooking onto her trapeze, and then trapezing off the front beam. Well, Matteo Magdalani is deciding whether he's going to move up to the other side or whether he's going to stay where he is. The key is to try and keep that windward hull just out of the water, and so it's up to Bosco trapezing off the bow to keep the boat flat, but Magdalani decides it's a little bit more safe and a little bit more comfortable to sit up on the windward side of the boom now. Beautiful angle to see these sailors competing, and this is part of why the Sailing Energy series exists. It's to try new ideas. This whole experiment is to show what the Nacras can do and what the 49er and FX can do in these short course races where there's a dash for cash. There's €200 up for grabs at the end, but as we've seen, those grabs for cash with the skiffs didn't go so smoothly. We'll see if they're equally butterfingered in the Nacra 17 or maybe a little bit more sure-handed. And Argentina still fairly comfortably in the lead right now. Going into attack, and then it will be a quick tack after that. Didn't quite get the ley line in one, but it seems like it's not going to matter too much because they have got a pretty healthy lead right now. And they go straight up with the Jenica, no hanging about there. And will they be able to carry the Jenica all the way along the next leg? Well, let's see how they go. They've certainly decided that's the winning move for the time being. Quick look over the shoulder for Magdalani. I'm sure he'll be reassured to see how much clear air there is between the Argentinian boat and the next boats approaching. Looks like it might be Austria and New Zealand about to come round. And, well, they've got so much time on their hands. The Argentinians can afford to get the Jenica down and set themselves up for grabbing this cash. Will they successfully grab the cash first time around? Doesn't always happen. And a very, very slow and controlled approach. Slow is fast and fast is smooth or something like that. I can't remember how the saying goes, but it doesn't matter because congratulations to Argentina, and they get the €200. We know that the FX girls are going to spend their money on crepes. That buys you a lot of crepe, doesn't it? €200. And then there's golf. What are these guys going to spend it on?
We're talking about that in the region, so we put down the spinnaker. And we say, okay, let's do it slowly that we have time. And then when you're there, it's like, I cannot fail.
No, really good, really fun. Reaching start was new. Somehow we were able to do it. It went okay. And then we were not sure if the jury was pointing to us or to the Turkish, and luckily it was the Turkish.
No, we are going to share something for the team.
Today we broke a tiller extension, so we are even for today now.
We have to buy a new one.
Okay, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, congrats. Let's go.
So they're going to spend money on boat repairs. Well, that's a little bit sad. But anyway, well done to the Argentinians. There it is confirmed. Magdalani and Bosco winning the race ahead of New Zealand's Wilkinson and Stewart, with Austria's Ferrezi and Zockling in third. And then at the bottom of the pile, after that extremely brave and inventive start that didn't quite work out, it's Kurt Bey and Kanar from Turkey. And there's the overall standings, and Magdalani and Bosco extending their lead, and so very well done to the Argentinians, who seem to be the early masters of this new short course format. Jerud and Jonsson from Sweden in second, and Wilkinson and Stewart in third. So I hope you've enjoyed that racing for the day. The Sailing Energy Series Part 3, experimental format, always trying new things. Well done to the Sailing Energy guys for making this happen and showing just how great Olympic sport can look. So we'll be back to you with another Sailing Energy Series event later on in the season. And in the meantime, these 49er FX and Nacra crews will be getting ready for their World Championships, which takes place in Quiberon. See you soon.